What's up? This is John from John Best for Photography, and this week Adobe dropped a whole bunch of updates for the majority of its apps. If you all haven't had a chance to update any of your apps, go ahead and do that now in the Creative Cloud app. You can find it on your computer, or if you're using an iPad or anything, you know where to find that stuff right in the App Store. But I wanted to show you all a couple of the updates and some of the stuff that I found really impressive or just really stood out to me. Yet again, I'm mainly a wedding photographer, so I tend to use Lightroom the most and Photoshop just a little bit, but we're gonna talk about some of those changes. Also, if you're new to the channel and you want to learn more about photography or running a photography business, this is the channel for you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe and hang out for more information. But let's go ahead and get into a bunch of these updates that Adobe dropped this week. So to start out, they updated all the icon apps. This was a pretty big change, and I noticed it immediately when I started updating my apps. The first one I personally saw was Adobe Rush. The icons now have a nice minimalist kind of flat look to them, and I really like it. You can see here on my iPad, all the apps are updated now, and they have this new flat minimalistic look to them. Let me know down in the comments below how you all feel about the new app icons. I personally like them, but they are a very drastic change. I think the only one that I don't like is the Lightroom Classic. I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's just the LRC. I don't know. But I guess it makes it less confusing now between Lightroom and Lightroom Classic. Next up is a new selecting feature in Photoshop called Select Subject. So over the years, Photoshop really has made it easier to be able to select things in your photos very quickly outside of using your normal select tool or the lasso tool or anything of that sort. Select Subject expands on that and it's actually really good. Basically, when you're using the select tool, what you'll see now up in the top left corner is Select Subject. When you do that, you're able to pinpoint a subject that you want to use, and it's actually very accurate. Let's go ahead and look at a couple of real examples of using Select Subject. Alright, so I'm here in Photoshop, and I've already gone and selected my select tool up here on the top left. Once you've selected your select tool, you'll see up on the top, Select Subject. So in my photo, what should happen is Photoshop will automatically know what the subject of the photo is and select it. So let's give it a try. And there you go, it pretty much found the model in the photo, no problem at all, and automatically selected her. That is absolutely amazing. Now I can do stuff like copy a layer, and now I have her separated. I do this a lot of the times for making cover photos for my YouTube videos. Also, just check out how detailed this is. It even got the hair pretty well. It's kind of ridiculous. Let's look at one more example. So again, I've already selected my select tool. This time I chose a photo with a little bit more going on. So let's see how Photoshop does with this one. Wow. Almost. It got everything except for her hair, so it's not perfect. But if you have a photo with not too much going on and the subject's very obviously separated from the background, then it pretty much will automatically do it. Let's look at one more example. So here's our photo again. Let's go ahead and hit Select Subject. And that's pretty good. You can see it missed a little bit of her bouquet here. But honestly, like for making automatic selections, this is really good. Now there are a bunch of updates for Lightroom, and since Lightroom is the program that I use the most, these stood out the most to me. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these updates. First off, you'll notice now up in the top right corner that you have a little cloud. This makes it easier to manage your cloud storage. If you're doing anything like me and using your iPad Pro and your main computer with Lightroom Classic and Lightroom CC on the iPad, this is actually really cool that you can now look at all the cloud saves right there in a nice and easy to get to space. I actually also have a video talking about how you can sync between Lightroom Classic and your iPad Pro, so make sure to check that out up above. It'll give you a better idea of what you can do with this new little cloud feature. They changed up some of their crop overlays, and I'm an absolute fan of this because now they have a center crop overlay. As you all know, I tend to center my subject in a majority of my photos, so this is actually probably the overlay I'm gonna start using more often. To get to the new crop overlay, while you're cropping, press the O key and you'll see all the different crop options. There's a bunch of different ones, but that center crop overlay really stands out to me. One of probably the biggest updates is the local hue adjustments. So basically, when you're brushing on adjustments, you now have an option to change the hue of the area that you've brushed. This is gonna be huge for skin tone. Huge for skin tone. Anyone who's editing a lot in Lightroom, you're gonna wanna check this out because it is super, super awesome. But instead of just talking about it, let me show you how this thing works. So we're gonna jump into a photo and develop it. And then from here we go under our brush adjustments on the right, and you'll see the new hue option. So I can pick a different effect. I'm just gonna do temp and set it to 0. And now I can make my brush adjustments. Keep in mind when you're brushing, if you don't see anything happening, press O on the keyboard. And once I've gone through and made all my brush adjustments, I can press O again, and then I can make changes to the hue. So if someone's skin tone was just a little bit off, you can click and drag this and make little micro changes to their skin. Now obviously I'm being a little extreme here, but as you see, if for some reason there was like a green cast or a yellow cast on the skin, you can make those adjustments rather than making it to everywhere on the whole photo. Keep in mind too, you can do this for all types of things. Like I can paint it in wherever I want to and make all types of changes anywhere. So this is actually a really big deal. Let's look at it one more time. So I already have an overlay here. And as you see, if I need to make any adjustments to the skin, I can make those and really tune in where I think her skin tone should be. So you don't need to use it on every single photo, but it's great for something where the colors may have been off just a little bit, or you just want to clean up the skin tone so it doesn't look so yellow or too red. And last but not least, probably one of the most asked for features while using your iPad Pro and Lightroom CC is being able to edit in Photoshop. Basically, while you're editing a photo on your iPad, if you hit the share icon, which is in the top right corner, you now have the option to edit in Photoshop. When you click this, this is automatically going to take you to Photoshop on the iPad as well, and you can edit your photos there. Now, obviously, you could already do this kind of stuff in Lightroom Classic, but now we have it on our iOS devices, which is super, super awesome, making the iPad Pro more of a viable option for editing your photos now. Anyone who does a bunch of cloning or fixing skin in Photoshop is absolutely gonna love this while they're using their iPad Pro. So those are all the updates that really stood out to me. There's obviously a whole bunch of other updates as well, so make sure to go update your apps and check out everything that Adobe has updated. I hope this information was helpful for you all, and yet again, if you like information about photography and running a photography business, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave any questions you have down below, and I'll check you all out next time. All right, peace.